Support for the local government news roundup comes from Rath Engineering Development, smarter systems for local government, like Red GMS, helping councils manage gravel pits and projects, track quality, test results, blending options and haulage, and know the true cost per tonne from day one. Rath Engineering Development can give you a one-off report that uses your existing pit data to pinpoint the best gravel sources for your next resheeting program or disaster restoration works, saving your council time and money. For local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience, talk to the team at Rath Engineering Development. Head to rathed.com.au to find out more. Coming up, Marsh wins Nepean, triggering a by-election on the Mornington Peninsula. Wyndham's leadership crisis deepens, with councillor boycotts and now a resignation. A troubled Sydney pool development is heading to court. Tempers flare in North Queensland as the local government minister resists calls to step in. A funding gap leaving country towns high and dry. Cessnock announces its new general manager, and a Tasmanian deputy mayor in the hunt for a seat in state parliament. Hello, that's all ahead on the Roundup, Australia's #1 local government podcast. Plus today, the Roundup flashback machine takes us back to this week in 2021. The Local Government News Roundup is brought to you with the support of our foundation sponsor, the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government. From Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. And from Rath Engineering Development, smarter local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience. Thank you for listening wherever you are in Australia or around the world. It's Monday the 4th of May, and here are today's top 3 stories. The Liberal Party has comfortably held the state seat of Nepean in Victoria, with Mornington Peninsula Shire Mayor Anthony Marsh claiming victory in Saturday's by-election. Councillor Marsh defeated independent Tracy Hutchison with over 63% of the two-candidate preferred vote, despite a significant primary surge by the One Nation candidate. The win means Mr Marsh must now resign his seat on the Mornington Peninsula Shire Council, triggering a local by-election for the Briars ward in the coming months, and of course a new election for the office of Mayor. According to governance expert Rhys Thomas, if Mr Marsh resigns his councillor position by the 8th of May, the by-election to fill his seat will be held on the 1st of August. But if he waits until after that date, the by-election will take place on the 3rd of October. North Sydney Council is headed to the Supreme Court in New South Wales, launching legal action against the architects and builder of the troubled North Sydney Olympic Pool redevelopment. The project is now 4 years behind schedule and has more than doubled its original budget. The revised construction contract sum is sitting at $93.6 million. Total project costs forecast at $122 million. Council says construction is complete and an occupation certificate has been issued, but hundreds of defects and disputed claims remain. According to the North Sydney Sun, the builder Icon says outstanding items needed for practical completion will be finished by mid-May, with the court matter due back for directions on the 22nd of May. And tempers flared at a Tablelands Regional Council meeting in Queensland last week as residents vented their fury over controversial plans to sell off or decommission community assets. One resident accused the council of backroom deals regarding the 92 properties currently under review. The Cairn Post reported that despite the outcry, the local government minister Anne Lay has refused to intervene, stating the $800 million portfolio review is a matter for the council. Mayor Rod Marty says engagement will continue, but with 260 more assets potentially on the chopping block, the community is demanding full transparency. And those are our top 3 stories today here on the Local Government News Roundup for Monday, the 4th of May. Now for more news out of Victoria, and the leadership crisis at Wyndham City Council is showing no signs of dissipating. The council has now been rocked by the immediate resignation on Friday afternoon of former Mayor Dr Jenny Barrera. In a scathing parting statement, Dr Barrera described the current environment of the council as untenable and impossible. She took direct aim at the current leadership after all councillors passed a motion of no confidence in the sitting mayor, who she says has refused multiple requests from her to step down. Dr. Barrera, a councillor of 5.5 years, says she cannot support the message this deadlock sends to the community. She'll continue in her professional role as CEO of the Wyndham Community and Education Centre. Earlier, Councillor Peter Maynard, another former mayor, announced he had emailed the council's CEO Stephen Wall and all councillors, advising that he would be boycotting all briefing sessions chaired by the mayor and would seek separate briefings from officers as needed. Councillor Maynard said he would also carefully consider attendance at in-person public meetings, given the continued refusal by Councillor Singh to resign the position of mayor. And this follows a decision by Councillor Larry Zhao to boycott last week's online council meeting in protest at Councillor Singh returning to the chair just 24 hours after the passing of that no-confidence motion by the council. The resignation of Councillor Barrera on Friday came within just hours of the Victorian government's announcement that it will appoint 2 municipal monitors to the council in a bid to restore community confidence and ensure high standards of governance. Minister for Local Government Paul Hamer has nominated Jim Gifford and Joanne Mazzio to the roles. The appointments are subject to final administrative processes. They'll see the monitors remain in place for a 9-month term from the 11th of May. Jim Gifford is a seasoned local government expert who recently served as a commissioner on the Whittlesea Commission of Inquiry, while Ms Mazzio possesses extensive experience specifically regarding councillor conduct matters and governance frameworks. The monitors will be tasked with a broad remit, focusing on the council's service delivery, internal culture, staff well-being and decision-making procedures. To other Victorian news now, and Kingston City Council is continuing its advocacy on a proposed 932-lot redevelopment of the former Kingswood Golf Course, saying it's seriously flawed. The council is warning of flood risks, tight rear laneways that may stop council rubbish trucks, and significant aircraft noise from nearby Moorabbin Airport. Officers want an independent review of flood modelling and a stronger say over technical designs. Ararat Rural City Council is urging drivers to slow down and park legally near Ararat West Primary School after a child was struck by a vehicle last week. The council says no stopping zones, bus zones and other restrictions are there to protect kids and warns double parking and blocked sight lines can lead to near misses. Community safety officers and Victoria Police will step up enforcement in the coming weeks. Swan Hill Rural City Council is moving to crack down on residential properties operating as unapproved rooming houses following community concerns. Council officers carried out compliance inspections in January after reports from locals, and they say several properties have since been brought into line. The council's Director of Development and Planning, Michelle Granger, says resident and community safety is the top priority, with rooming houses required to meet strict safety and regulatory standards. And a win for Tawong Shire Council and the community following their advocacy. Victoria's parliamentary inquiry into the 2026 summer bushfires will host an online open mic session for those residents this Wednesday. Speaker spots are capped at 20 with a strict 3-minute limit per person. Registrations close on Tuesday or earlier if all places are filled. This is the Local Government News Roundup for Monday the 4th of May. And it's time to crank up the Roundup flashback machine to see what was making news 5 years ago this week on the Roundup. An ambitious plan to transform the northern bank of the Yarra River was considered this week by Melbourne City Council. The Green Line project has been described as Melbourne's version of New York's Highline Park. Mildura Rural City Council has appointed Phil Shanahan as its interim CEO to take over from Sarah Philpott, who leaves the council on the 28th of May to take up the chief executive role at Mount Gambier in South Australia. The New South Wales State Government has announced an 11-kilometre tunnel as part of the Great Western Highway upgrade. The Blue Mountains City Council is concerned that the proposed $8 billion tunnel will attract new and bigger trucks to the towns and villages in its area. The South Australian Ombudsman has found a local mayor committed misconduct in public administration. Councillor Richard Sage, the mayor of the District Council of Grant, was the subject of complaints referred to the Ombudsman. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Those were some of the stories making news on the Local Government News Roundup 5 years ago this week. Another visit from the Roundup flashback machine coming away next week here on the Roundup, which is brought to you by our foundation sponsor, the Victorian Local Governance Association. Another terrific live panel was held last Thursday night with LGIU on the changing and evolving nature of councils and their roles. If you were registered for the event but unable to attend, look out for a link in your email inbox soon. You'll be able to catch up on what was a pretty spirited and enlightening discussion with executives from Australia and the UK on our Global Executive Live panel. And there's another one coming up in June. Look out for details on that on the events page at the VLGA website, vlga.org.au. Back to the news now, and just ahead of our New South Wales report, regional leaders are sounding the alarm over a funding gap they say is leaving country towns high and dry. Regional Capitals Australia has welcomed a new Productivity Commission inquiry into water reform, calling it a vital chance to fix a system that locks out local projects. RCA Chair Councillor Josh Black says while regional cities are expected to drive the nation's food, energy and housing goals, they lack the direct funding needed to upgrade ageing infrastructure. New data reveals nearly half of Australia's regional capitals already face annual water shortages, with over 75% of councils naming infrastructure upgrades as their top priority. The group is urging the federal government to grant local councils direct access to the national water grid, warning that without secure supply, regional growth will grind to a halt. The identity of Cessnock City Council's new General Manager has been revealed. Award-winning executive Natalia Cowley has been named as the incoming GM, bringing a heavy-hitting financial background to the role. Ms Cowley is a fellow chartered accountant, known for leading one of the state's largest financial turnarounds at Central Coast Council. Mayor Dan Watton says her disciplined leadership is exactly what the region needs as it navigates a path towards long-term financial sustainability. Ms Cowley, who already calls Cessnock home, officially starts the job on June 29. That creates a vacancy at Moree Plains Shire Council, which has announced that it will commence a recruitment process to replace Ms Cowley in the role very soon. Central Darling Shire Council has approved a short-term $3 million line of credit with Westpac to cover expected cash flow shortages in May and June, according to the Backcountry Bulletin. The council says the problem isn't structural debt, but timing, with grant-funded projects and road maintenance contracts requiring upfront payments while reimbursements arrive later. Pressure has also increased after recent storm damage, with around $3 million in repair costs paid before funding claims are processed. Federation Council is moving to streamline management of key tourism assets in Urana, exploring a single contract to run the caravan park, waterfront pavilion and foreshore facilities. The council says it's about cutting overheads and improving the visitor experience with clear performance targets for any operator. The current contracts will be extended until the 30th of November, while modelling and a tender are prepared. Orange City Council has launched its We Live Here, We Work Here campaign, reminding residents that council staff are locals too. CEO Scott Maunder says most contact is respectful, but abuse, threats and profanities cross the line, and in extreme cases, the council can refuse service. He says criticism is welcome, just keep it civil. The first video in a series is now on the council's Facebook page. Kiama Council is testing the market for long-term lease or joint venture partners for its 5 coast holiday parks after several unsolicited proposals from experienced operators. The council says it's not selling the parks, but wants to see if private investment could help improve its long-term finances. An expression of interest process will be conducted before a selective tender. Lismore City Council is starting early work on long-term waste planning, looking at whether Blake Brook Quarry could suit a future regional landfill. Council says the current landfill at Lismore Recycling and Recovery Centre may hit capacity in 7 to 10 years, and approvals for any new facility can take a decade or more. Mayor Steve Krieg says no decision has been made and locals can follow updates at lismore.newsouthwales.gov.au/new landfill. Well, string and corkboard conspiracies, AI-generated attacks and claims of brutal, crass politics, it's all exposed in a new Sydney Morning Herald investigation into Liverpool City Council, which it says is teetering on the edge of administration as a bitter feud between Mayor Ned Manoon and his rivals reaches a breaking point. From allegations of doxing to a deputy mayor driven to resignation by a psychological mess, the infighting has left the region's leadership in shambles. As a state inquiry looms, the Herald asks if it's too late to stop the rot. It's a long read. It's an interesting read, and you'll find a link to that in our show notes. Also making news, Port Macquarie Hastings Council will get a $7 million low-cost loans initiative boost to help build the $152 million Kawarra water treatment plant. The state's significant infrastructure project is designed to support more than 5,300 new homes by delivering a reliable filtered drinking water supply as the region grows. Newcastle City Council has signed off on a trial of CCTV cameras along Beaumont Street in Hamilton, aiming to curb violent and antisocial behaviour. Councillors have backed a trial of up to 3 years, conditional on the state government covering less than half the cost. And Wollongong City Council says it backs a statewide framework for shared e-bikes, but wants proper funding and the power to set local rules. The council's submission to Transport for New South Wales warns compliance and safety enforcement could fall on councils without enough revenue to do it well. This is the local government news roundup, catching up on news from across the nation. In Queensland, Lockyer Valley Regional Council is urging locals to switch to the free Bureau of Meteorology weather app as it ends its paid early warning network alerts on the 31st of July. The council says the BOM app offers broader coverage, warning notifications for up to 3 locations, plus forecasts and radar, including offline access. Existing subscribers have been notified, and the council says critical updates will still be available via radio and its disaster dashboard. Southern Downs and Warwick communities are mourning the loss of former Mayor Ron Bellingham, a long-time local business and community leader. Mr Bellingham was mayor of the former Warwickshire Council for 8 years and became the first mayor of the newly amalgamated Southern Downs Regional Council in 2008. Warwick Today and Stanthorpe Today noted he's being remembered for his work with Warwick Tourism and Events and local community groups. In the Tasmanian Legislative Council elections, independent candidate Claire Glade Wright is locked in a too-close-to-call battle for the southern seat of Huon as at this morning. Primary vote counting shows the Kingborough Deputy Mayor trailing incumbent independent Dean Harris by less than 3%. Analyst Kevin Bonham told ABC News that Mr Harris's lead may not be enough to hold off Councillor Glade Wright once preferences are distributed later this week. Councillor Glade Wright says the strong showing for independents proves voters are weary of major party politics. Final results are expected to take several days as postal votes arrive. Kingborough Council is investigating a data breach after a property data set was briefly made public online due to a technical configuration issue. Council says the exposed information was limited to property addresses and owner or occupier names, with no financial details, ID documents, dates of birth or contact details. Access has been removed and a forensic review is underway. Glenorchy City Council has formally noted the state's Greater Hobart Rapid Bus Network business case and says it will keep working with government as the detailed plan is developed. Mayor Sue Hickey says the project could make it easier for locals to get to Hobart for jobs and appointments while taking cars off the road. The council wants early clarity on station locations and corridor design and says any planning changes and access upgrades must be properly funded. King Island Council is trialling a different way to handle curbside waste, baling and wrapping it at the Charles Street site before trucking it to Perenna landfill. The council says the move should cut wind-blown litter and extend landfill space, but it's also warning against metals, e-waste, wires and green waste in household bins. And Ulverston got a playful new nickname for the week, with Central Coast Council dubbing the town Ulver's Tones and I, ahead of Tones and I's show at the Sound Shell on the weekend. The Mayor Cheryl Fuller says it was a fun thank you to locals who backed a grassroots campaign to bring the artist to town in what was expected to be one of the largest events to be held on the Central Coast. Let's go to South Australia now. Roxby Downs holds the title for the state's most expensive place to live, and the bill is about to get even steeper, according to Adelaide Now. New data reveals residential rates in the mining town were 44% higher than the state average last year, with another 4.2% hike expected this July. For an average home, that's an extra $100 a year. Administrator Roy Blight says the town's remote location and static population make high costs unavoidable to maintain the $200 million in local infrastructure. And the Messenger reported that Gawler's only cinema could shut its doors unless annual council rates are reduced. The church-run Murray Street venue is now about $26,000 in arrears. Co-owner Jody Habermel says the rates have jumped from around $12,000 a year to more than $17,000, leaving the cinema running at a loss. But Gawler Council CEO Chris Cowley says the rebate request doesn't meet policy criteria. And a bit of news out of WA. The Shire of Carnarvon is preparing for a new chapter following the formal resignation of Shire President Eddie Smith. After nearly 20 years of service, including a 7-year stint as president, Mr Smith has stepped down this past Friday. Deputy Burke Maslin will serve as acting president until an extraordinary election is held to fill the vacancy. Further details on the upcoming vote will come from the Electoral Commission soon. The owner of a controversial 200-metre colour-bond fence in Coburn is taking the city of Coburn to the State Administrative Tribunal. That's after the council refused retrospective approval, saying the solid metal fence doesn't meet rural fencing expectations. The owner says they followed planning advice and offered design changes, but now a full hearing could cost about $30,000. The fence was built over snake concerns and to keep pets in, according to thewest.com.au. And the city of Bayswater has switched off free public Wi-Fi in the aquatic area at Bayswater Waves in Embleton in the interests of safer, distraction-free supervision. Perth Now reported that council officers told a meeting the change supports the Watch Around Water program, reminding families that lifeguards can't replace parents' attention. Under the guidelines, children under 5 must be kept within arm's reach and under 10s must stay in clear line of sight. And the city of South Perth has paid tribute to Bill Graydon AM, Western Australia's longest-serving MP and a decorated World War II veteran who served in Syria, the Middle East and Papua New Guinea. Mr Graydon represented South Perth and had a political career spanning federal and state parliaments from 1946 to 1993. The city will fly flags at half-mast on the day of his funeral. Let's grab some overseas news before we wrap up now. From Scotland, Highland Council says it's accepted a serious offer for an 18th century marble bust of Highland landowner Sir John Gordon, valued by auctioneers at around £3.1 million. The council says the buyer has 5 months to raise the money, but can't be named due to a confidentiality agreement. A local museum in Invergordon has told the BBC it's behind the bid, with the proceeds intended to benefit the town's community fund. Also from BBC News, Shropshire Council staff and councillors have faced abuse and threats linked to the removal of unauthorised union flags from lampposts and street furniture. The council says the flags pose safety risks, can damage infrastructure and cost residents money to take down, with past removals costing around £13,000. Officials insist they're not banning patriotism, but they do oppose attaching items to public street lighting without permission. Police are being urged to act where harassment crosses into criminal offences. In New York City, lawmakers are looking to keep robotic policing strictly non-lethal with the introduction of the Asimov Act. Named after the famed sci-fi author, the bill would legally ban the NYPD from arming its robot fleet with weapons or explosives. While the department says its robots are currently unarmed, supporters want the ban locked into city law to prevent future escalations. usatoday.com has more on that story. It also has news on how Los Angeles city leaders are exploring a proposal to grant non-citizens the right to vote in municipal elections. The motion, introduced by Council member Hugo Soto Martinez, would open city-level races, including mayor and city council, to all residents regardless of citizenship status. It's opened up a debate on whether voting should remain a privilege reserved for citizens. If approved, the measure could appear on the November ballot. Up to Canada, Windsor residents can no longer hire Bird e-scooters and e-bikes, with the city ending its 5-year pilot. The program started on the riverfront and then expanded across parks and road reserves. A report to council says there were more than 471,000 rides, with 4 medical incidents and 28 non-medical incidents. City staff say talks are continuing with Bird Canada about bringing the service back. Halifax City Council has shelved plans to require new housing developments to include affordable or below-market homes, after a report found it could make projects unviable and push up rents. Councillor Sean Cleary says rising land, labour and material costs leave little room to mandate discounted units. The Affordable Housing Association says governments should instead back more not-for-profit builds, and the council may revisit the idea later, according to CTV News. And Vancouver Mayor Ken Sim says losing the Whitecaps is not an option and is calling on the BC government to keep the Major League Soccer franchise in the city. The plea follows reports that the league is exploring a relocation to Las Vegas due to stadium profit challenges at BC Place. More from Vancouver City News on that. And finally, to South Korea, where local councils are under fire for a string of bizarre legislative proposals labelled a waste of taxpayer money, according to Chosun Daily. From mandatory earthworm protection to official surveys on single-use items, critics say the ideas are impractical and distracting. The most controversial is a plan to designate President Yoon Suk-yeol's birthplace as a historical site, a move that opponents have dismissed as purely political. And that's the latest from the Roundup. This edition, number 581, recorded on the morning of Monday, the 4th of May, 2026. If you have comments or feedback, you can send an email to chris@lgnewsroundup.com, and you can get more information about this episode, including story links, by heading to lgnewsroundup.com. That's also where you'll find breaking news between episodes. Our podcast is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences, and Rath Engineering Development, smarter local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience. Our podcast is recorded in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. Until next time, thanks for listening, and bye for now. Support for the Roundup comes from Symphony 3, allowing councils to connect their systems securely, to automate their data flows and to monitor performance in real time. And right now, councils are lining up for their own emergency dashboard, like the one that Symphony 3 has created for the city of Greater Bendigo. The dashboard helps keep the community safe and prepared before, during and after emergencies. It pulls together live data, including weather data, traffic data, emergency incidents, unplanned and planned disruptions, news and social media feeds. Visit www.symphony3.com to learn how you can get an emergency dashboard for your community.